Hello. Hello, this is Coach Lindsay on the Jackass Podcast on Spotify and probably wherever you like podcasts right now, hopefully. Um, Today we are going to talk about my memory of 9/11 because today is the 10th of September, 2025. We're also going to talk about what happened today to Charlie Kirk, um, talk about why the Republicans are pushing something that is falls as unconstitutional, putting the Ten Commandments in class. We're also going to talk about No Child Left Behind and why I heard someone who said they were from California on TikTok act like the rules different in Cali versus here, and give you some of the conversation that I had with a colleague who's also just came from California. Going to talk about wrestling and some of the stuff I love this weekend about wrestling. It's been a fun weekend. Then we're going to talk about football. And we're going to talk about fantasy, talk about how I beat one of my friends and he got kicked out of the league. Um, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And how I went 4 or 5. So it was a good weekend for me. Talk some Cowboys football. I'm not really going to talk college football that much. I wasn't so intrigued by a lot of the games, but that's just because I'm an Aggies fan and they were playing the cupcake. So I didn't really care. But this weekend, we can talk about them playing Notre Dame. I think we need to talk about where we need to fix public education and how we need to get some hands back into it and some hands back out of it. All right, so let's start off. I'm going to start off saying this. I don't care what you think about the guy. I'm not going to say that I didn't. I'm not going to say that he wasn't a smart man. I'm not going to say that I loved following him 100% because the truth is I like following people who may have a different full opinion than I do. And with that being said, today is the 10th of September. Unfortunately, today Charlie Kirk was shot. He's a public figure. He's a TikTok influencer for the conservative side. He was shot at Utah Valley State University. My only presumption, and I don't know this, I haven't watched any video on it. I just got snippets of news today saying that he was shot and that he was in critical. And then I went to a meeting for my special education department. And when I got out of the meeting, which was like 5 o'clock Central Standard Time, and found out he had passed away. Like I said, I was actually just having a conversation with my oldest about this because he came and asked me about it. And while I don't agree with everything Charlie Kirk said, he was a lot more conservative views than I am. I don't think, and I think it's a problem in this country right now, that we have gotten away from what has made this country. And I have had this, I think, on 3 different episodes where I've said this. This country was founded on compromise, and we have lost the art of compromise within the political system, especially at the federal level. And it's unfortunate. We've lost the ability to disagree as people who have gotten way too emotional are acting like they don't know how to use logic and reason, and they're just being emotional and become violent. And they just don't, it just doesn't make sense anymore. And I was kind of disgusted because I don't know who it was, and I'm not going to slam him. All I know is they had to be someone from the left. And I'm not going to say I wasn't even watching this clip. I was in the restroom at a Walmart, and you know how people, when you're sitting in the restroom, sometimes they got their phone blaring for whatever they've been listening to, and they brought up gun control. People, be realistic. If you take guns out of the hands of all the good people who are actually going to follow the law, you're going to leave them unarmed against people who don't give a shit about the law, who don't care about jail, who only care about what they want. and why that may not have been the original intent of the Second Amendment. If we let people, England, and I'm going to say this, England is a horrible place to say, well, they took away the gun rights. It probably took away the gun rights many, many moons ago. England has never let you say anything against their monarchy. That has been well documented, established in stories. Um, whether you believe Robin Hood is true, is based on some truth. You have to stop fooling yourself. You got to look at the whole picture before everybody starts talking. Well, England does it. They do this. They do. Yeah, dictatorships do it too, and we don't run in that field. Every time that we have a violent crime that involves a mass shooting or a public figure getting shot, does not mean that we need the government to tell us we need to take your gun rights away. No, I do not believe that. Because I don't think it would be the Second Amendment if our founding fathers didn't want us to have it. Well, that was the 18th. Yeah, I understand that. I understand it was the 18th century. I understand it was 1776 or 1783. But no, we need to stop politicizing every violent act. Like, this is the time to talk about gun violence. Let's get sensible people back in office, and then we can talk about gun reform. You want to talk about gun reform? How about you just enact the laws that we have, and the states, let's see, states like New York, places like Chicago and LA, and the places that have all these great crime rates, and all these big cities, how about y'all enact the laws, follow the laws, and you probably see something good. Next part of this. So tomorrow's 9/11. Unfortunately, this sad day, 9/11 was a horrifically sad day also. I'm not gonna say Charlie Kirk's death is nowhere near that. I feel sorry for his family. It is not a 9/11 mark. It sucks that someone, I didn't even realize he was so young, got shot down just because of his beliefs. And in the fact that we're shooting people down because we believe something so strongly, like not as a country, but just as a person. For some of us, we're becoming groups that we don't like. So if you can't handle, I don't know, being responsible, being able to hold an argument, learning that you're not always right, and being able to learn to fail, we should be not doing stuff like this. It's tragic. It sucks. And we're going to go to, like I said, we're going to go to another tragedy, and that we're going to talk about uh, 9/11, September 11th, 2001. And I'm going to give you my story on that. And if I'm still doing this podcast in a year, I'll probably talk about it then too. So on day of 9/11, I had just graduated. It was my first year out of high school because I'm a 2001 graduate. And this is before cell phones. This is before everybody had a cell phone and everybody always called everybody on the cell phone. It's when landlines were still prevalent. We were living, me and a couple friends, or a few friends, were living in a house together. And one of the guys that we lived with, his parents owned the house and they were our landlords. That morning, I think it's a Tuesday morning, I think I was supposed to be in class and I had decided to sleep in. I was being lazy. When I went to college my first year, I was not a good student. I was horrible. As a matter of fact, I ended up dropping out, or yeah, I dropped out of college. I got told I was fooling around too much, so nobody wanted to help me pay for it, and I was too broke to pay for it. So I didn't know all about financial aid. I kind of went to college on a whim. It wasn't well planned out. I'll be honest. It sounds like a lot of my life. Tuesday morning, I was sleeping in. I think it's about 9 o'clock, and I had a phone in my room hanging up on the wall. I also had a waterbed at the time. So this was a way different time for me. Phone rang. I got up. I guess I was the only one in the house. Answered, it was our boys' parents, the landlords, asking me because at the time I fell asleep with the radio on, so I just listened to music that didn't have a TV on, and they were like, Did you see what happened on TV?" It's like, no. Turn on TV, start flipping through the channels, and by this time, this is when you learn all those channels are connected because there was nothing on TV except what was happening in New York and Pennsylvania. It was straight news coverage. So I had woken up after the planes had crashed. I think I had woken up just in time to hear about the one in Pittsburgh and maybe the one at the. I don't think the one at the Pentagon. I think the one at the Pentagon already happened. Maybe we were hearing stories about the one on Pittsburgh by the time I actually started watching it. I think they ended up canceling class at Vista, which was a community college I was going to at the time. Man, I just remember waking up, seeing that TV, and just being stunned. Like, seeing that happen. At that time, I'd never seen anything like that on TV, on anywhere. And it kind of changed how people viewed. You started hearing down here. I'm in San Antonio. Like, especially over the next year, 2 years, because we have a lot of military bases and we have one of the best burn units, one of the best hospital units. There's an FBI place, NSA wasn't a thing. Now there's like an NSA office here. We would heard that we might be next on a list. I don't think we were like top on the list, but I think we were on the list somewhere. And it just kind of changed how you viewed it. I remember going in, I think at the time I worked at a local college campus in their science department cleaning up like the lab rats. Went in talking to people and it was just a somber feeling. And like, I'm all the way in San Antonio compared to New York. So we're like 2,000 miles away. It just, New York at that time, and New York has always been kind of a mecca for the U.S. And the World Trade Centers were in like numbers of movies because there's a number of movies set in New York. So everybody kind of knew what they looked like. It was big here. So, and it was a pride thing across the U.S. I think it's the last time that we had full bipartisanship on a lot of stuff for those probably 2, 3 years after. And then we got away from that again. So, with that being said, I just remember that day. I don't think I'll ever forget it. I don't think I'll ever forget the images on TV. Um, so, I don't, I just hope and pray that everybody kind of remembers that day. Um, and I know we've gone like 2 generations past that now. And some of those kids will never know what that actually means. And hopefully in their lifetime, they don't have something like that happen. So um, I remember those who passed away that day, all the people that passed away because of it, the firefighters, the first responders in New York, first responders in Pittsburgh, and at the Pentagon. Hopefully y'all remember 9/11 for what it is. It's a solemn day in the country's history. Now, I'm going to complain about the party that I kind of affiliate myself with because I don't get this. Benjamin Franklin says, going to paraphrase, he basically said that you can't legislate morality. I don't know if that's the exact quote, but that's basically what he meant. And for some reason, the Republicans have been on a kick about putting the 10 Commandments in public classrooms. I'm a public education teacher. I'm supposed to help, keyword, help guide young men and young women to be older men and older women. But I'm not their moral compass as their teacher. It's not my right. It's not a responsibility I want. It's a responsibility that sometimes is forced upon teachers, and saying that we have to put the 10 Commandments in the class of public education. I think it's ridiculous. Like if you want to talk, let's be honest about everything that happens. Let's have the moral conversations. Let us teachers like help guide those conversations, and let the parents, the moral compass of their children is based on what the parents say. So if your parents don't have that moral compass, sometimes those kids aren't going to have the moral compass, or they're going to be the exact opposite, and they're going to be like, "Nah, I'm gonna, no, I got it," and stuff like that. It is not my job as an educator to point out the 10 Commandments. Um, there's a reason that as a country, for some reason, both sides are getting away from the core values of this country. The Constitution is the core values of this country. It says there is a separation between church and state. Just because most of the country is a form of Christian religion doesn't mean we have to jam it down everybody's throat. Because everybody has a right to choose what faith that they have. It's one of the wonderful things about this country. That First Amendment says I can speak about my government without the worry of getting arrested. Unlike in England, I can post whatever the hell I want on Facebook about my government. And Facebook don't got to like it. No, those private entities don't have to like it. But I can do it. And I have the right to practice whatever faith I would like in my own house, in a congregation of whom I choose to be around. And that is my right. Do I know that there has been this drastic killing of morals in this country? You could say that. But that starts off with what people listen to musically, and that starts off with the effort you want to put into being guided by that moral compass. I grew up Presbyterian. I remember a Christian comedian saying it was Christianity light, and it kind of is. I'm not the most religious person. I do have a faith of my own. I'm not agnostic. I used to be agnostic. I could not grip because of my brother and the stuff my mom went through. I couldn't grip with there being a perfect deity, and that was my own thing. But I can't sit here and tell you in my brain that is mathematically inclined that I believe that without some help, that the one in billions and billions of chances that the Big Bang Theory happened like they say. The mathematical part of me can't believe that there's not some kind of little poke in somewhere. There's not some form of creator that has helped us along the way. I have trouble believing that there's not something there. Um, if you're atheist and you're listening to this, I'm fine with that. You have your own belief. I have mine, and you can live with that. I'll live with whatever you believe. You can live with what I believe. If you don't like that, I'm gonna tell you, you're listening to the wrong fucking podcast. Um, I named this the Jackass Podcast because this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, and I'm not gonna sit here and let other people dictate what I believe. You can ask my friends. I'm as stubborn as the mule on that picture. So that's all I really got to say. And we got to talk about something else in the classroom. Um, this week, or I'll say yesterday specifically, my TikTok For You page has had a couple people who have talked. Like I listen to, there's I think she's got to be a liberal woman from Dallas. I'm gonna say this because I don't know what her name is. I don't remember. I don't really look at the names, but she always talks about new laws coming towards education. So I at least want to be informed because I am a teacher. And she was talking about the systematic dismantling of public education. And I can say that the past 30 years have not been good for public education. It hadn't been an overnight thing, y'all. It hadn't changed. And the first big change was No Child Left Behind. So why this came to mind now was I was watching TikTok and there's a lady who moved from California to Texas, and the way No Child Left Behind is, um, she basically thought that her kid couldn't fail. Now, No Child Left Behind does not say that your child cannot fail. What it does say is that in order for your child to fail, the teacher has to prove they have done everything that they can next to moving mountains to get your kid the help that they need to pass the class. It is a very, very hard thing to retain a child. It's a very hard thing to want to put in the paperwork and the documentation and the fact that you're like, well, I called and we talked about this and da 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 da. And we talked about this and we tried this. Because after a while as a teacher, if you're a middle school teacher, you're a high school teacher, you got like 150, 180 kids a day walking through your class. And you're telling me that if they decide that they do not want to work, that I have to babysit them when we're trying to teach them to be adults in secondary. And the other thing that No Child Left Behind gave us was a stronger sense of standardized testing. We've always had standardized tests. There have been standardized tests forever. Texas has always had its own. It was TOS at first, then right after No Child Left Behind, it was TAC, and then it became STAR. And now I don't know what the hell they're going to call the new monstrosity once they voted on a 3-part one, which I think is going to cause me more of a headache or a partial headache. If they set it up like the MAP test, that'd be great, because then I don't think it would be as strenuous of a day. The thing that I hate most about testing, besides the fact that they don't test the kids at the level that they should be tested at, is that actually there's a couple things that bug me about state testing in this state, is that they've made the questions tricky for even adults to answer, especially on the English stuff, because, hey, let's put 20% of the test as inferencing when these kids have absolutely no life experience. That's great. Let's do that. That sounds wonderful. And if you don't know what inference is, it's when you take your prior knowledge and try to guess correctly what the author is writing. It's basically all of this. These We're telling sixth graders who've been in elementary school who haven't even hit puberty yet, and they're like, we have life experience. They don't have Jack Diddley squat and life experience for the most part. You have some that may have some traumatic life experience that they don't want to reference, but you have very few that are like, yay, we're gonna do this. We have a bunch of life experience. No, that's just one part. Two, another one that the state of Texas is so wonderful about. When I first started in education, they had um, a STAR test and a STAR test and an accommodated STAR test. Well, the accommodated STAR test had one less answer to choose from, and they decided, I don't know when, like 10 years ago, to get rid of that for whatever reason. But hey, we can put that on their individual education plan, but the STAR test doesn't have to follow that. The STAR test got to choose what it gets to follow, changing answer choices, modifying the test, letting kids that struggle with reading, that have trouble, There's a mental disconnect from them actually looking at the page and reading it, but they can learn fine auditorily because they have their oral comprehension is great. No, no, we can't let them just listen to it. Like, are y'all serious? The STAR test even ain't up with the damn times. Like, seriously, how are you not gonna accommodate people? When on my phone I have Audible, we all listen to conversations, we all listen to books. We use listening devices to go through the books now. They use tape, books on tape when I was a kid. This is not a new industry, but we can't let the kids listen so they can comprehend what the hell is being said to them versus them reading it. I understand his reading. I also understand that something has gone on in this damn country where we have more learning disabilities than we did before. And some of it is that as much as teachers push initiatives to encourage reading, to encourage being mathematically inclined, to doing all this stuff within that classroom, we only have the kids for about a third of their day. And I'm not their first teacher. The teacher that hits the room the first time your kid comes to school is not their first teacher. First teacher's mom, dad, whoever the hell's taking care of that kid. That's the first teacher. So for the most part, like 95% of kids who are successful have a positive upbringing in that. Most of those kids that struggle have a negative influence in that somehow. Maybe mom and dad struggled and they just didn't know what the fuck they had. But it is not, no child left behind has told our kids that you cannot fail. I have a bunch of kids over the past 5, 6, 10 years who are afraid as hell to fail at something, who are so scared that when they fail, that it's going to be the end of the world. That is not the case. I told my boys all week, all fail means is first attempt in learning. You have to learn to fail. We have screwed our children in a couple ways. One of them being is that we do not teach them to fail. There have been moms and dads who are so scared to let their kids fail because they'll hurt their damn feelings that they're going to get their feelings hurt worse when they get older and they can't handle being told, oh no, because mommy and daddy overprotected their ass because they got dumped in the fire as a kid and didn't know how to handle it. So mom and dad figure, well, that screwed me up, so let me not screw up my kids. No, you screw up your kids worse by trying to overprotect them to where the first asshole that they meet is me in the 6th grade. And I will tell you, like to tell the kids, I am more of the regular person your kids are going to meet out in the real world than the nice, sweet teachers that they have. I've told students that for years using one specific example at one of the schools I was at. I wasn't playing. See, I'm the teacher that's brutally honest with you. And I will tell you what happens in my classroom. I do not care. Are there going to be kids who don't like me? Yes. Are there going to be adults who don't like me? Yes. Am I fine with that? Yes. But most of the kids that like me, they end up liking me because they know I'm brutally honest and I'm telling you from a place of love what you got to hear. I don't love easy. You're not going to get, come here, mijo, come here, baby. Like, I'll do that every great once in a while, but you're going to get tough love. You're going to get corrected. You're going to get told what I think and how you should be. We don't teach these kids how to fail. So, and the government seems like they're making a plan where they don't want people who are going to outthink them. And in all honesty, the government's outthinking itself and just being dumb as hell in whatever they're doing because they're not even actually talking to each other. They're just a mixed match of bullshit right now, and they don't have a clue what they're doing, especially in the state of Texas, acting like a bunch of goddamn babies sometimes. So yeah, that's my real problem with No Child Left Behind is that it doesn't let us teach kids to fail. That if you don't do the work needed, you're not going to go to the next grade level. Because if I don't do the work needed at work, I'm not going to get promoted. And if I damn sure don't do the work needed at work, I'm just going to get my ass fired. So please tell me where the disconnect is. Please, somebody. Because I haven't gotten it yet. So it's just made teachers' job harder. That's why teachers are at such an extraordinary rate of turnover now. Like, y'all have made our job harder. So that's on the government and that's on parents. So now we're going to talk about some wrestling. For me, this has been a fun weekend of wrestling. For some reason, like the storylines they have been telling, SmackDown I don't remember as much except for the AJ Lee return. The Seth Rollins CM Punk story has now brought back AJ Lee, and the two segments AJ Lee has done have been a throwback to her and how she was her whole run. I kind of remember her run in WWE because she was the crazy little girl who was like boy crazy, stalkerish crazy. Played it she played it really well. Nerdy. She was just different. She was a little skinny for me, but she's fit as hell. But watching her come back in the reaction in Chicago, that was fun to watch. But what was even more fun to watch was her promo in Milwaukee on Monday Night Raw. That was great. That was fun as hell to watch. It had a really nostalgic feel to it. And I like I listened to the Busted Open podcast and the segment that they did talking about her promo. I love that promo. I think maybe I don't remember her mic skills as well, but she told a story and it had me hooked. And I was hooked because Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, that whole thing. I'm hooked because CM Punk, like he's enjoying himself the most right now, and that's so cool to see. But just the AJ Lee return, that has been fun. It's been fun just to see where this is gonna go, and I like it. Actually, I really love it. It's just been fun. And you know what else I'm gonna give credit to? The New Day storyline with Penta. That shit's just funny. The New Day showing, and it's not even like a major storyline. It's just showing how good that storyline, how good they are, that they need to be in some ridiculous storyline with Woods wearing a funeral sombrero all the time. It's ridiculous. It's just fun to watch. So, and then you know what I did love? All that match between Sami Zayn and John Cena on Friday Night SmackDown. That was fun to watch. That was fun to see John Cena giving tribute to some of his great rivals through that match. That was awesome. If that's his last SmackDown match, that was the way to go. It was just so much fun to watch. That whole segment was fun. John Cena coming out, playing with the crowd in Chicago, being honest with that crowd in Chicago, and then seeing Sami Zayn come out and kind of pull that tribute out, kind of pull a weird tribute out to John Cena and say, hey, like when you were wearing this title, you gave so many people a break. Even though he may have kept the title, he ended up giving so many people a break. Because what I think people who are really markers don't get sometimes, and is that you can look good in a win and sometimes, or in a loss, and sometimes those are the more memorable moments. The moment that made Stone Cold Steve Austin was kind of as the rattlesnake after the King of the Ring was the Bret Hart match the next year at WrestleMania where he bled out. That's what made him a babyface. And he lost that match. He got knocked out in that match from the pain. And that's what got him over in a loss. So there's something to losing, but losing to a big time performer that gives you a rub and makes you look better, especially if they're really, really good at their job and they're a really good wrestler. Like I said, watching John Cena and Sami Zayn, that was fun. All those, they weren't perfectly done, but those references to all his past competitors, man, no, that was fun to watch. I liked it. I didn't catch the spear at first. I didn't know who. And then when I kind of rewatched it, and I think I rewatched the clip and seeing it was meant for Edge, that was cool. Because that's the one match with John Cena that I wish would come back. That one feud. It was nice to see him versus Randy Orton. It was nice to see him versus CM Punk. I understand why he gave some rub to Logan Paul. Cody Rhodes, the 2 matches was good. But just seeing, I would love to see, to me, that was his ultimate foe was Edge. Yeah, Randy was good. Brock's good. There's always someone Brock comes back and surprises John Cena and beats the shit out of him. Because then the story's going to be how Cena going to win, and it's such a great story. So I love what they were doing, John Cena. I did love that match. Now I think about it, I kind of hate the way it ended with Brock Lesnar coming in, but understandably, they're building up to WrestlePalooza. I like that though. So this past weekend was the start of the NFL season. Like I said, I didn't really pay attention to college football that much. We were so busy, it wasn't funny. I paid attention to my football game. It did not end how I would like it to end, so I'm just going to leave it at that. We didn't win, unfortunately. I got to watch the high school team on Friday play. And actually tomorrow night, this being a Wednesday, tomorrow night they got a game. So I get to go watch them play again. That'll be fun. I don't think college had a lot of big-time games. And for this weekend, of course, me being an Aggies fan, I'm looking forward to Notre Dame, the Notre Dame game. Like, how can you not look forward to that? There's always there's always at least a good, decent program. And this will be a big test for the Aggies. I'm looking forward to watching it. I don't have anything planned right now. I don't intend not to be watching that. So that is on my list this weekend, is watching Notre Dame and Texas A&M play. And the NFL kicked off really, really well. So from a fantasy perspective, because this is funny, I got I play in a couple leagues where 4 other people in the league, they run 2 different podcasts. And one of the leagues is called the Guillotine League. So if you're the lowest score, you get chopped. And then people can kind of come get your scraps and make their team better. Because it was an 18-team league. Yes, ridiculous. It is. That draft took freaking forever. But I somehow got this lucky, really, really lucky, because of the Monday night game, and ended up getting my friend kicked out because we were basically battling for whose team was worse. He had relied on Rashid Rice, and I had probably just really picked wrong. I didn't really have a strong team, but I had Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. So guess what? I ended up winning because of Monday night. I was worried to the 4th quarter. To whenever Jefferson hit that touchdown, I was so worried. Because I was 10 points down. And then I was 8 points down. I was oh man, I'm going to lose this shit. But see, all the other people have been talking about my friend getting kicked out. I hadn't been. So I went and stole his running back after I beat him, which was nice. And then I liked it because I won four or five of my teams won. So like for fantasy, that's always fun. What else? As far as football goes, I actually like the way Dallas played last week. The fact that you can hold AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, and Devontae Smith to under 100 yards total between the three of them tells me that the defense did really good. Where Dallas sucked was when they came back from that long break, they couldn't get much going on offense. And then they couldn't stop Jalen Hurts from killing them in the first half in the run lanes. After the first half, that score was only 3-0. So Dallas just could not get, I don't want to say Dak had a bad game, but they just couldn't get the offense rolling like they should have. Because what Carter did at the beginning of the game was the dumbest thing ever. We teach kids that you have to be disciplined, and then they get to go watch a pro spit on the other team member, and then you're going to get kicked out of the game for just being stupid. Because that was just a stupid choice. So, and then you had neither defense could really get pressure. I think Dallas had one sack. I don't think Dak got sacked all night. And he had really good moments. Jalen just tore up the Cowboys defense with the running. Um, and then the defense, of course, made the play on Mike Sanders where he fumbled the ball. I just don't know, man. I'm happy with what I saw. I think this week they're playing the Giants. It should be an easy win. I saw someone that said that the Cowboys are going to kill off Russell Wilson's career. I don't know. There's something about running quarterbacks that kills the Cowboys, so he may have a shot. But the Giants did spend the first round pick on Jackson Dart, so let's see what he's got. Because he's also got Malik Neighbors out there, and they need to tear it up with him. If they're gonna have any shot, because he's their only real offensive weapon. Man, what else am I looking forward to this week? I'm looking forward to the Cowboys game. I don't know the Monday night matchups. Tomorrow I'm gonna be at a varsity game, so I'm not gonna get to watch the Thursday night game, which kind of sucks, but it's understandable. I work for doing high school football in Texas, so that's part of the gig. Sunday I get to be a fan, so I look forward to the games this weekend. I'm gonna look forward to Dallas whooping up on New York and my boy Henley being mad and throwing stuff because it's the Cowboys, who I think is actually his favorite team. He just loves them. And that goes for my friend Dilbeck too. He loves my Cowboys. I think he hates my Cowboys more than he loves his Texans. And I'll stand by that because he talks more shit about my Cowboys than he says what his actually Texans can do. So Duck, you can hear that, by the way. And I'm glad I got to wave bye-bye to you in the Guillotine League because I'm the one who beat you at it. So, I don't even remember who the Texans are playing. I actually saw it and now I forgot. I know they're playing the Monday night game, so that'll be interesting. Hopefully, the Texans their offense gets in gear a little bit more than what it was. Maybe they truly are missing Joe Mixon on that because he's just a steady back when he's in there. I could see that being a problem. So I hope y'all have a good weekend. I'll see you next week. I'll tell you how my games go. It'll just be a little short. Like I said, we win or lose. Good days. Y'all have a good one. Hey, peace out. This is Jackass. Have a good day.